Welcome to Lead Brightly, real conversations about the relationship between confidence, leadership success, and what it really takes to lead with the clarity and courage that inspires others to follow. It's an absolute pleasure to be joined today by Alastair Morris. Alastair is the Managing Director of ACCU. Do you know what I meant to check before we even came on here? Is it ACCU or ACCU?
ACCU. So it's the beginning of the word accuracy. We sell accuracy.
All right, ACCU. We're keeping that in there, by the way. A digital retailer specializing in precision engineering components. Now, under his direction, the business has scaled significantly, now serving over 100,000 engineers in 160 countries, including 70% of the world's top manufacturing firms, and has recently been recognized with both the King's Award for Enterprise, well done, and Made in Yorkshire Exporter of the Year. Fantastic. Good news. Alastair believes that exceptional employee experience is the foundation of sustainable and commercial success, and I'm really looking forward to exploring how this belief has helped drive such impressive business results. So, Alastair, welcome to Lead Brightly. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
There's so much I want to ask you. But let's start with a relatively simple question, shall we? Sure. Leadership's a really tough job, and especially when you're scaling a business to the size that you have done. But you seem to genuinely enjoy it. I'm guessing along the way you've learned a lot and had some pitfalls and all sorts along the way. So what would you say is something that you've had to learn the hard way to be the leader that you've become today?
Sure. I've been managing people now for 20 years, and it continues to surprise me and challenge me daily, right? People are human beings with all their problems and challenges. And while it's what makes it difficult, it also what makes it enjoyable. I probably learned that the hard way through really difficult situations with people, and not necessarily work things. You help people through personal situations and things that are going on in their life that continue to surprise me and catch me off guard even. The things that you end up having to deal with as a manager and a leader, they're not what you'd learn in an MBA. I probably learned more as a father than I did as studying management, right?
Yeah, it makes me think of a time when I was leading a team and one person was really underperforming. You talk about people surprising you, and not always in a good way though, and wondering why his performance had dropped so much. And I remember sitting him down and having this conversation with him. And literally within 5 minutes, he explained his whole life was unraveled. So the reason that he looked disheveled, he wasn't turning up to meetings, he was missing things, was he was living in his car because his wife had kicked him out and he was living without his family. You never know, do you? What's behind closed doors?
Yeah, and performance, everybody's performance, your own performance, it's driven by all those human factors, the things that are going on, and I think taking the time as a manager to try and understand that, always being compassionate first, is really valuable, And if you can help somebody turn themselves around and get to a place where they're able to perform, they'll be ever grateful to you. They become more dedicated, more loyal, more engaged. It's an incredibly powerful thing to do.
Has that ever happened to you? Has anyone ever sort of taken you under their wing? And have you had that experience being led by someone like that?
I've been lucky to have some incredible managers and leaders across my career. Particularly when I was younger and inexperienced and I didn't know what I was doing. I was lucky enough to have people who gave me the space to make mistakes as a manager, and to do the wrong thing in the situation, but then learn from it. That space for forgiveness is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. And the amount of people I speak to who are terrified of making a mistake and therefore make mistakes. So this thing about feeling safe, I'd love to come to that shortly, but feeling safe in your environment, being able to make mistakes is something you see as really important and empowering.
Yeah, absolutely key. So we have 6 values at ACCU. So we've got 6 company values, and I made a real point of distilling them down to one word each, so they were easy to remember. But then I talk about them a lot. They're not things that are just written on the wall or in the company handbook on day one. I talk about them repeatedly, and in fact, every month I give out awards for people who've demonstrated each of the values.
Okay.
So if you demonstrate one of these 6 core values of what we are as a business, then you get like an instant reward. If you manage to demonstrate all 6, you win a holiday, and indeed wherever you want. So the company just pays for you to go on a holiday of your choice. Our quality engineers in Japan right now, having collected all 6 ACCU values.
That's insane.
It's a headline way of focusing people on what's important and saying to employees,
Yeah.
this is what we value, what's actually really important to us. But one of those 6 values, and the one that I end up talking about most, is fail. And employees find it really difficult, actually. They're like, why do you give people an award for having failed? And it's not, we don't just give the award for having made a mistake, right? It's how you deal with it. It's having the courage to try something, not being afraid of failing. So even if you don't fail, right? Did you go out on a limb? Did you risk failing? Great, we love that.
Yeah.
If you failed, did you own it? Did you say, I'm sorry, I messed up, can I put it right? Own up to it really quickly. Don't hide it. Don't brush it under the carpet. And how do you react when other people fail? Really trying to remove a blame culture and say, okay, something's gone wrong. Don't care. It doesn't matter. How can I help you make it right? And it's kind of the most important value to me, really. Because it creates the psychological safety, which is consistently the most important thing for engagement and happiness at work. Yeah.
This is huge, actually. And if people don't listen to anything else that we talk about today, I hope all of the leaders that I know and that listen to this, they take that on board. I've never, in all of my years of experience as a coach or a leadership skills trainer, heard anyone have that as part of their values, something that we measure. And I think it's absolute genius. I love it. Absolutely love it. I also want to know is if I'd retrained as an engineer, could I demonstrate all values and have a holiday, please?
You don't need to be an engineer. So we've got lots of different people in our business. We're an e-commerce company. We write our own software. There's a lot about logistics and customer service. So customer experience is really important. So you don't have to retrain as an engineer.
Who knew this podcast was going to end up into me pitching myself to come back with you? Okay, on a serious note, though, so you've led significant growth. And I know you care deeply about the employee experience and workplace happiness. It comes across in just who you are and how you speak. Some leaders still see this as really soft, and I use that in inverted commas. I think it's anything but. When did you realize, because this isn't something that most people, well, maybe you did, maybe it was innate in you, but when did you realize that how people feel at work directly impacts business performance and start using that to do what I describe as leading brightly?
Yeah, I think there were kind of 2 significant bits in my career. One was really early on. I was working in a global corporation, 300,000 employees. And it was the interview for my first management job, actually. So I was 27, being interviewed by the UK president of this organization to become a manager for the first time. And one of the questions was, what was I most worried about taking on a management role? And I said, well, I'm going to be managing people who are 20 years older than me. They have way more experience. I really don't know as much about this as they do. And this senior guy's answer to me was, well, that's not what the job is. The job isn't to know more about it than them. And indeed, when you become president, when you get more and more responsibility, it gets harder and harder to know anything. And do anything yourself. That's not your job. Your job is to ensure that everybody else has the resource, the energy, the motivation to deliver what you need the organization to deliver. And that's 20 years ago, and it still sits with me really closely. That's really what my role is now. I'm now in that seat where I can't do the job of anyone in this company. I can't do anything that it does. My role is purely about making sure that they are in that sweet spot of performance, and they're engaged with what we're trying to do as a business. They're pulling in the same direction, and they feel motivated to do it.
Yeah.
The second point in my career that was the real tipping point was working in the opposite type of organization. So working in the toxic culture that was hierarchical and micromanaged, and this is your task, and if you don't do it, you're out. That understanding the negative impact of culture and not doing the soft bit, that realizing that's really not soft at all. It creates a huge turnover of employees. It creates employees who are just ticking boxes, not really trying to solve problems. And the amount of waste that it creates in resource, in time, the cost that's added in by having to resolve all those issues, just massively inefficient.
Yeah, people don't seem to see the inefficiency, which blows my mind. So when you talk to them about the cost of absenteeism, presenteeism, attrition, quiet quitting, whatever terminology you want to use, the fact is people are not, the lights are on, but sometimes they're just not there, or they're not there at all. The cost is huge, absolutely massive. And I'm surprised that message hasn't got through to more organizations. I wonder why people still choose to believe that soft is not better. And I often talk about the hard skills. I don't call them soft skills anymore, because actually, I don't know if you would agree with me or not, but I think learning to lead with emotional intelligence and all that other stuff that helps you be a great leader is harder than telling people what to do and doing classic old school leadership.
Yeah. I also think I've kind of, over the years, I've come to the conclusion that the UK has a particular underinvestment in leadership skills. Like, we don't value it as a skill in itself. We tend to just promote the people who are best at doing the job. And you're then left with this double problem of your best. I mean, take engineering. My career has been in engineering, right? Your best engineer ends up managing a team of engineers, and you've got a double problem. They don't have leadership skills. They're not necessarily the right person to do that. And they're now no longer doing the engineering. You've lost your best engineer, and you're managing badly. And that need to invest in leadership as a thing early on, and keep developing it, and creating a culture of learning around it, I think is really critical. I try and instill that in people as well. I try and make it clear that, like, I am constantly reading books and listening to podcasts and trying to get better at this. I don't know how to do it, but I want to do it better, and that's the key thing.
I think it's so refreshing, and I wonder what part confidence plays in this, because obviously I talk a lot about confidence and the impact this has on our ability to be effective. And thinking about what you're just talking about there is for people to have the courage at your level to say, I don't, well, first of all, I can't know it all. And secondly, what I'm learning to do is be a leader. And that isn't an innate thing. People assume it's an innate skill. And I absolutely agree with you. I see people, organizations investing in the wrong things all the time, including, let's do some more technical training with the people on the ground. They've got all good excuses for that. But the leadership team are causing absolute havoc at the top. So we could train all these people at the bottom. They can have the best skills in the world. They're looking up going, why should I bother? Why should I bother? So I to have the confidence to say and do what you're doing openly is a massive skill in itself. Would you say you've always been confident? You come across really confidently? Are there times when that you do sit there and go, oh gosh, I'm actually only 4 years old. I shouldn't be at this big table.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and that gets worse as you progress in your career as well. You feel less like you should be in this position and have this level of responsibility. In many ways, I still feel like the same person I did 20 years ago, and I'm no better equipped to do this now than I was then. I think confidence is a lot about outward confidence. So I'm you know, I get that I come across as being confident even when I'm not, and that's quite useful. I think, you know, I forget whose quote it is, but acting brave is the same as being brave, right? By hiding, you know, not getting rid of, but hiding the lack of confidence.
You're managing it by pretending.
You manage it by doing it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's half the battle, basically.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
You know, and I guess I've probably always had a bit of that there is some of that's been with me for quite a long time, that I've always been reasonably confident. But then I've also become, like, lately I've become more comfortable with my own gaps and weaknesses. I used to hide those, right? I would, you know,
okay, all right,
I used to, like, stay away from what I wasn't strong on, or pretend that I knew things that I didn't. But observing other people, working with other great leaders, I've seen that actually, you know, asking the stupid question is way more valuable than pretending to know something. That owning up to what you're not good at creates that psychological safety again. So it makes other people feel more confident, right? It rubs off on other people.
Completely. And actually what you're describing, so in my book I talk about the imposter meter, and I actually mention masking as overconfidence as well. And that's how I used to present. I think if you're naturally expressive, maybe I'd need to do the research on this, but you're more likely to mask in a different way. I'm still hiding the fact that I'm uncomfortable, but I'll pretend that I know it, or I'll just be louder and funnier or something else. But you're not being authentically you. You're not being what I describe as a utopic version of yourself. So whether it's too little confidence or too much confidence, if it's masking something, it's not authentic, and affects how people feel about you. And the response that you get. Just going back to something you said about in the UK, people, or was it in Europe as a whole, people not investing in the people that just get promoted because they were good at their job.
Yeah.
How do we change that? How? I mean, I know we've got all these, the Global Happiness Workplace Report Index, whatever we call it, looking at all the reasons why workplace happiness is important for business results. How are we going to get people to read this stuff and realize one of the biggest things actually is, if you can't create a business that thrives if the leadership team is below par, if they don't have the emotional intelligence, the right level of confidence, the communication capability that is required to lead the organization.
I think we need to. I think we need to talk about it a lot more. I mean, that you're referring to the Global Workplace Index, kind of a report recently developed by the Happiness Index, which is an organization we work with at ACCU.
And all those words are just all slightly in the wrong order.
Yeah. And what I love about that is it's actually taking data. So it's gathering data about employees, and it makes it less anecdotal. And there's some real nuggets in there. I mean, one is that employees are least happy when they are with their boss, right?
Well, any boss, even if they like.
Generally, across the globe, that's a pretty common factor.
Okay.
They're least happy when they're with their boss. And now that's you know, if you then put yourself in the seat of the boss and think, oh, actually, that's, you know, I'm the cause of unhappiness and disengagement in employees. It's kind of the opposite of what your role is. If I think back to what that role originally was. Yeah. So we kind of need to acknowledge that and recognize that that's one of the core things that we're trying to do. So data is really important. I'm obsessed with investing in it from the beginning. So one of the things I'm proudest of at ACCU is having created a Future Leaders program. So taking some of the youngest people in the organization who are not managing anybody, and they had to apply to get on this program, but then they're on an 18-month series of interventions. You know, they get a mentor, they go on training on some of these specific areas of skills, they get the opportunity to speak in front of groups of people, They get one-to-one time with me. I run a book club with them and get them actually like learning some of these topics.
Ah, brilliant.
And you know, we're coming to the end of 18 months with a group of them now, and their confidence is probably the main thing. You know, they've all sat slightly higher and they have a better understanding of themselves. Setting them up for the future.
Yeah.
I created that because I was lucky enough to go through something similar when I was their age. And I feel like I was invested in it at that point, and it made a real difference. So.
And it's a really nice thing for other people to look at and see within the organization. So instead of people saying, well, you know, if they're not included, they know how to get included. They know what to do. They know the values, the behaviors that you're measuring. So it all links together. You've got this clear vision. They're excited about where you're going. You communicate that well and often, I'm guessing. But you've got reward and recognition that matches the beliefs and the behaviors that you want for people to embody. So it isn't just one thing, really, is it? It's so many moving parts, but if you miss any of them, the whole thing can come tumbling down. You know, you want people to feel inspired, but also look up to the people that are going on these programs going, well, I want to be part of it too.
Yeah. And it's worth acknowledging how hard work it is, right? I think a reason a lot of managers dismiss the soft skills is actually because it's difficult, right? And they don't want to have to deal with that. They'd rather just give an action list of 10 things and the financial metric, and you know, that's the easy thing to do, right? What are the business drivers? What are your KPIs? Are you hitting your KPIs? Yes or no? That's a really easy way to do the job. The hard bit is to go back and find out what's going on at home and why that's affecting their performance, and thinking about the psychology of the person and you know the neuroscience behind it, which is where I link in with the happiness index a lot. Matt Phelan, who runs that organization, originally introduced me to ACCU. It's kind of how I ended up here with a common love of this idea that the neuroscience that drives employee engagement and happiness is really the thing that you need to focus on, right? That take those different areas of human reaction and behavior and work on those. Those are your inputs. Your output is your profitability and your number of orders delivered, and but they're all output metrics. The inputs are what you're doing with the people.
I mean, obviously, this floats my boat completely because I'm a complete neuroscience nerd, and everything I do is about the psychology of human behavior. What I find really interesting working with some clients, especially in more technical environments, and you are in a technical environment yourself, but you're very into this, is talking about this. Oh, you know, this isn't working, that isn't working. Why aren't people behaving the way I want them to? And it always comes down to the fact that they're not having proper one-to-ones. They're having numbers-based, data-based one-to-ones, and they don't understand the person. They don't know what's going on in their life. They don't know how they feel about what they've been asked to do. They don't know anything. And consequently, there's a massive disconnect, and the people aren't listening to them. So we talk about making sure those one-to-ones are proper human-to-human conversations. The look on their faces is like I've asked them to go and do something absolutely obscene. And the fear behind that is real. Well, what if they don't want to tell me? What if I find out something I don't want to know? What do you, when you're helping other people become the leaders that you want them to be, how do you help them overcome that fear? Because I just see it as we're just having a chat about how you are. I think that's the easiest thing to do. And yet it doesn't seem to be. What's going on?
I mean, one of the things, the journey that maybe I'm still on, right? In getting better at doing this is, and having been an engineer once upon a time, particularly susceptible to it, is trying to solve the problem, right? You're not necessarily trying to solve the problem. You just need to create the space to help somebody else solve their own problem, right? So I think the reason it's scary is because they're going to bring you all of their baggage and all of their problems. You know, I can't. What the reaction being that, what do I do with that? I can't, you know, save their marriage. I can't deal with their health issues. Like,
Yeah.
why therefore do I even need to find out about it? But understanding what it is that's going on allows you to you can make allowances for it. You can deal with things differently. You can apply pressure at the right times and in the
Absolutely.
right ways.
Yeah.
You can fit people into the right boxes to get the right things. I think we all have periods in our lives when we are performing really well, and we have periods in our lives when we're performing really badly.
Yeah.
And it's so easy as a manager just to look at the people who are performing badly and think they're poor performers. Get rid of them. I haven't got any time for the poor performers. I only want the high performers. Rather than recognizing that it's all time and function and position based.
Yeah.
The job is to move these people up here as swiftly as possible.
Yeah, and as you were talking, I was thinking about, I wonder if some of this is people are scared of taking on other people's worries, fears, discomfort, because as human beings, we don't actually want to feel other people's discomfort at all.
Right.
But what we forget is that sympathy and empathy are two very different things, and that's usually the biggest learning is I'm not here to sympathize, although a lot of the time I will feel it because I can't help it because I'm a massive empath and it goes a little bit deeper. But you're just there to empathize and say, I'm sorry this is happening to you. What can I do to help? You're not there to go, oh gosh, right, well, we need a marriage counselor and we need this and we need that. You're not there to do that. And I think this comes back to, again, people aren't taught how to lead, therefore they're not taught how to coach. And it's a massive gap. I mean, if you look at the 6 main leadership styles that are really effective, visionary being the number one, where are we going? What are we doing? Be excited, but also the ability to coach around, what your role is within this. The coaching style of leadership is the second most powerful and probably the least most used.
Yeah.
Probably it is the least most used. So maybe it's fear, maybe it's lack of training.
Yeah. The other thing I'd maybe touch on is something I did at ACCU, like recognizing that I'd got a skills gap in that area as well. Like, while I might be a confident and good communicator, I'm maybe not always that approachable. Like, some people feel intimidated coming to me and having some conversations. That's okay. Don't try and make myself something I'm not. Have somebody else that's good at that. So bring someone who can do that. So we created a head of employee experience function in ACCU. So there's someone whose job it is to improve the employee experience, right? And when we created that role, it felt like quite a practical thing. They were gonna do cool things on site and have social days. And while they do all of that, the majority of the time is actually one of counselor in chief, the shoulder to cry on, the empathizer, the empathizer role at a senior level in the business. That exists as a concept, and that there's somebody that you can go and talk to and work through things with. It's kind of been quite powerful.
And you've mentioned quite a few things actually that lead into creating psychological safety. One of them being that making it safe to fail. What else do you think stops people from feeling safe enough to speak up or make mistakes? What are the biggest things that you've experienced or you notice in your organization that would stop that?
Yeah, I mean, there's still, and we don't get it all right. There's still work to do on all of this. I think we work very hard on development within the business. So helping people move around. What I was talking about, trying to get people from being from a low performing place for whatever reason to a high performing place. Sometimes that's about using their skills in a different way to the benefit of the company, right? Continually banging your head against the brick wall, trying to get somebody to do something that they're not comfortable with, can really damage that sense of failure. Like, I'm not continually not hitting my targets. Okay, all right, well, maybe we're not trying to get you to do the right thing. Let's see if we can pivot that and get you to do something different.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that everybody has a value, that everybody can bring a value. In a small organization, it can sometimes be really difficult to find a space for everybody.
Yeah,
but we try really hard. We try really hard, and,
yeah.
I'm really prepared to create a job around a person, rather than just the other way around as well, right? So rather than just, creating the job that fits the gap in the organization that we need, and then seeing if anyone fits it. No, there's no one internally, right? We'll get someone externally. Can we prioritize people internally to say, look, actually, I think you would thrive doing something different. Let's help you get to that place. Let's have those conversations. Where do you want to get to? What skills do you need to get there? And try and get people out of the difficult places.
Yeah.
You can't always do it. It doesn't always work.
No. I'm guessing there's times when it's not appropriate to either, because sometimes we find that people who are low performing, it's because they're low performing and that they're not demonstrating the behaviors that we need, even though they're low performing. You can still demonstrate the right behaviors.
Yeah.
So that then is a classic. It's not you. It's the job fit isn't quite right.
Yeah, and one of my jobs in leading the organization is to make it kind of really clear what we are as an organization and what we aren't. Right? We're this company is not for everybody, right? It's high growth, it's fast paced, it's entrepreneurial, and I say to people, like, if you want a quiet life and if you want to turn up, clock on, do the same thing every day and go home again, this probably isn't the right company for you, because we're highly ambitious and we want to crack on and do 10 more things.
Yeah.
But if you're up for that journey and the excitement and the potential that comes with that, great, let's go there together. But it's kind of not trying to be everything to everybody, I think, is really important, and be clear about who you are as an organization, and be consistent about it. So you can do it at recruitment, you can do it in development discussions with people, and then you end up with cultural fit.
Yeah, absolutely. And you said several times we're not perfect at this, and no one's ever perfect at anything. But what I love is this: it's consistent work in progress. You're still learning. You're encouraging other people to learn. And I think, if anything, that has to be the number one. The place to start for any leader that wants to improve is to look at themselves first before they start looking at others. I'm just wondering. I mean, we've talked about quite a lot of things, and we've touched on confidence as well. What role do you think confidence plays in effective leadership? So by that I mean, does it really matter? I personally feel it does, but have you noticed when people don't have the confidence, they're still able to thrive, or what's missing? How does it help? How does it hinder?
Yeah, I definitely think. I think portraying confidence, as we spoke about, is really important. And if you think about sort of who the leaders are that you're inspired by and that you want to be led by, you don't want to be led by someone who's not quite sure. You want clarity. One of the most important things, again, for employee engagement is clarity. Give me some clarity on this.
So if we're lacking confidence, we're lacking clarity, which I completely agree with, and that causes a bit of a disconnect and fear in others.
Sure, and that confidence. But to go to what you were saying about not being overconfident, really important to not to then just try and blindly answer everything. To own up to what is uncertainty and where uncertainty is. But again, confidently, right? Because then it's clear to people, look, there's some unknowns here. I don't know what this will look like a year from now. I know it's going to be different from how it is today. Change is difficult. We're all going to have to deal with that change. But if I say that confidently, it creates more of that safety. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, you can tell some really bad news with it, not with a smile on your face, but the way you say it, the way you put it across. With that confidence, and not to, as soon as you feel scared, other people pick that up and they start you're scared
Yeah,
anyway.
fear is really contagious. We're kind of
So
as
contagious.
creatures, we're bred to pick up on other people's fear, and we get it ourselves. So that's probably what when we talk about confidence, it's the lack of fearlessness.
Yeah, it's not about never feeling fear, but it's about how you show up for the people that you're leading in a way
Right.
that stops them from feeling too much fear. So what about if you have something that is bad news? Have you ever had to give bad news to a lot of people?
Yeah, for sure.
What's your because again, what I see is people skirting around it, avoiding it, withholding information, saying, well, we won't tell them yet, but everyone's got a sniff of it because we're leaking. There's something going on. What would be your advice on that?
Yeah, I think I mean, I'm a big believer in openness and honesty. You know, if you try and pretend that things are okay, that actually creates a bigger problem. I came from a career in sales, and all my sales training was really clear: give bad news early, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
if you've got to give your customer some bad news, don't hold off on it. Give it early, and then you can recover from it faster as well, right? It feels smaller. You come from it later on. So I try to do as much of that as possible. I try to give continual information about the health of the business and how things are going, and what is going well and what's not going well, and therefore it becomes more routine, right? And if it's
Such a shock, then I suppose that people
yeah,
they know there's been a bad run. They might be expecting things could change.
yeah, I've been in the organization where the company update was only ever done when the redundancies were coming,
Okay,
right?
so
And everyone knew when the company update went in the diary, oh, who's it going to be this time, right? That
yeah,
that that was you only ever updated people when you absolutely had to at the last minute. And therefore they're always expecting it. There's always the suspicion that it's about to come, because what are they not telling me?
yeah. Because the
So
absence of information is just as damaging, isn't it, as
right,
giving information that you didn't necessarily want to hear.
yeah,
In fact, we can make up our own stories about it, and you end up losing really good people, or motivation and performance drops because they're busy making up stories in their head. We've
yeah,
not been spoken to for ages. There must be one of those meetings coming. We're all up for the chop.
yeah.
So consistency, clarity, honesty, and then more consistency, and
Yeah,
juicy
yeah,
amount of.
and if you've got that bad news to deliver, being very upfront about it, and you've got this is your plan to deal with it, and you know what are the things that we control and what are the things that we can't control. You know, being honest about it, being getting in the boat and being in the same boat as people, I think is really important. You know, that try and remove that them and us. Look, we're all in this together. We have all got a big problem. How are we going to deal with it?
And I think actually that's a huge point, is most people will not, however you say it, stand in other people's shoes, get in the boat together, whatever it is. They are so scared of the backlash or what's going to happen that they don't think about how to actually say it to the people that it's really going to affect. We're busy protecting ourselves. Again, another human thing to do. But actually, a great leader, a brilliant leader will say, I'm really sorry this is happening, and actually empathize and care for the people in front of them. What you're communicating, how you're communicating, it really matters, doesn't it? I've got two final questions for you. Sure. I could go on for ages listening to this, but two final questions. One is, you're a data-driven company, you're a data-driven guy. So how do you measure culture, wellness, happiness within your business?
So the happiness index are going to love me. I've quoted them several times already, but that is actually the platform that we use as a business to gather that data.
Okay.
In one level, it's an employee satisfaction survey, right? So it surveys employees. We do a big one every 6 months that covers a lot of different areas.
Yeah.
And we do it every 6 months so that we get data over time, and we can look at trends. We get a heat map across the business by departments, and you can see, which, and it splits it by neuroscience area as well, right? So which of these areas is a particular issue, maybe in some areas that it isn't in others. You do it at managerial level through the business. And you see where your issues are, and then it allows you to come up with an action plan to say, okay, something here is trending in the wrong direction, and we want to dig more into this particular area. Let's do some more survey for this particular team or this particular topic. Personal development was something that came out of it. So we did more of a deep dive into personal development. People didn't feel like there were opportunities for it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's understand that data a bit more and come up with an action plan. What are we going to do about it? It doesn't have to be that platform, but you've got to continually get that information.
Yeah.
And I found it's really important for it to be anonymous. That's why we use an external platform that people don't trust, that it's genuinely anonymous and they can actually say what they're feeling on various topics. A lot of it's often about their manager or about the things that they've been given to do. So they need that psychological safety that they can give this feedback without any repercussion. So that's really important.
No, it's brilliant. I've noticed with quite a lot of organisations, they may do it once every 2 years and they just go around like that. And then at the end of the 2 years, or maybe it's a year, if you're lucky, they then go, well, that was interesting. Nothing really bad's happened. You're like, no, let's look at the data. Let's see what trends. What I love is you go deeper. You're like, we see this thing now. Let's go deeper into it. And because you want to solve the root cause of the problem, not the kind of the surface level. Great stuff. So my last question for you today, if someone is listening today and they're leading a team or they're thinking about leading a team, but they're worried about, or maybe they're unknowingly creating fear, or they're seeing silence or self-doubt around them, they may not know why they're doing it. What would you want them to understand or do? What's one thing that they could understand about themselves, or one thing that they could do differently? That's 2 questions. Sorry, that was really cheeky. It's a double header. It goes that way.
Yeah, I mean, the understanding things about yourself is really tough. You spoke about coaching earlier. That's your world. I would definitely encourage people to look at one-to-one coaching. I have one-to-one coaching. Sometimes it borders on counseling. You're thinking about yourself, talking about yourself in a way that there isn't normally the opportunity to do. Nothing else in life creates that situation where you're going to really analyze yourself and question yourself and how did I behave in that situation. I'm a big fan of 360-degree feedback as well. So for people in an organization to get feedback from peers, superiors, and employees, because I've always found it that there's always a common theme. People see things in you that you do not see in yourself. You've got blind spots,
always,
and you just need to be open to getting that feedback and not getting defensive about it. Just observing. Oh, that's how other people see me, right? And even if it's wrong, they've still seen you like that.
Yeah, it's perception.
Right? Your behaviors have created that perception.
Yeah.
Something that's in your control is, are your behaviors that create that perception. Even if you consider it to be really incorrect and it riles you, you can work on changing their perception. You might not have to be different. You have to appear different. And so get the feedback. Seek out feedback about yourself. Really
great,
really valuable. Tough to do.
It is to do, and it's going back to having the confidence and the courage to do that. A lot of people go, yes, I'm going to do it, and then they back out. People are genuinely scared of finding stuff out about themselves that they're not going to like, that they might have to change, they might have to develop. And yet when they do and they see the difference on the other side, they're like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? I mean, I honestly wish I'd started. I started introspection 25 years ago, but the real coaching stuff where I started to move forward was only about 10 years ago. It's made the world of difference. And obviously I'm passionate about it because I do it for a living. But when you see the other side and the difference that you can make to other people and to yourself, you'd wish you'd started 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
every time. Alastair, thank you so much for your openness, your honesty, and sharing so many golden nuggets that I think people would just absolutely love. And I imagine people want to speak to you now about how they can create.
I love talking about it. I'm more than happy to talk about it. It's really important. And like I said, we need more leadership skills, and we need to talk about it more and start developing it earlier.
Yeah, well, I'm here for that. Alastair, thank you so much. I'd love to have you back one day and we can talk some more. And I will keep a keen eye on how the growth of your business goes. And I wish you all the best. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sarah.